They called it Vorthak, the ash tyrant. Not a creature, not a beast, a catastrophe. Entire star systems had gone silent after its passing. Ancient civilizations, older than humanity itself, had carved warnings into the fabric of space. Warnings about wings that blotted out suns and fire that could peel oceans from planets like skin. No one had survived long enough to describe it fully. Only one truth remained across the galaxy. If Vorthak came, everything ended. Earth had been marked. No one knew why. There had been no invasion fleet, no declaration of war, no signal or demand. Just a single anomaly detected at the edge of the solar system. Something vast, something alive and moving. Then the satellites went dark. Then the sky began to change. It started as a faint red shimmer at dusk. People thought it was a storm. They were wrong. Within hours, the atmosphere itself seemed to burn. Clouds twisted unnaturally, glowing from within as if lit by a distant, growing fire. Air traffic vanished. Communication systems failed one by one. Panic spread faster than any official announcement could contain. Governments tried to respond. They launched weapons. Missiles screamed into the upper atmosphere and never came back. Cities emptied. Highways turned into rivers of fleeing humanity. Some sought bunkers. Others prayed in open streets. Some simply sat and watched the sky, unable to comprehend what was coming. Because deep down, everyone felt it. This wasn't war. This was extinction. In the northern plains, far from the chaos of collapsing cities, there was a small settlement. No military presence, no defenses, no hope, just a handful of families who had nowhere else to go. Among them was a boy named Ion, 7 years old, too young to understand fear the way adults did. That evening, while the sky bled red above the horizon, Ion sat outside his small home, carving lines into a piece of wood with a dull knife. His father had shown him how to do it. Not too hard, he had said. Let the shape come to you. The shape Ion carved was simple. 4 legs, wings, a long tail, a dragon. He had never seen one, of course. No human had. But stories had a way of feeling real to children. Behind him, inside the house, voices whispered urgently. They say it wiped out entire worlds. We have to leave now. There's nowhere left to go. His mother's voice broke through the others. Ion, come inside. But the boy didn't move. He was staring at the sky. The red glow had deepened. Dark shapes moved within it. Huge, slow, impossible. Then the wind changed. It came in a single, violent gust, hot and dry, like the breath of a furnace. Trees bent. Dust lifted into the air. The wooden toy slipped from Ion's hands and rolled across the ground. He stood, not in fear, in curiosity. Above him, the clouds split open. Something massive descended. At first, it looked like a shadow. Then the shadow grew edges, wings, claws, a body so large it seemed to stretch beyond sight. People screamed. Doors slammed. Lights went out. But Ion didn't run. The creature landed beyond the edge of the settlement. The impact shook the earth like an earthquake. Cracks split through the dry ground. A wave of heat followed, searing across the land, turning grass to ash in seconds. The sky roared. Or maybe it was the creature. Vorthak had arrived. Its wings folded slowly, each movement sending gusts of scorching wind across the plains. Smoke curled from its scales. Its body glowed faintly, as though something inside it burned hotter than any fire known to man. Its eyes opened, 2 molten suns scanning the world beneath it, searching. It took 1 step forward, then another. Each step left the ground blackened and cracked. Inside the house, Ion's mother reached the door. She saw him, standing outside, alone. Ion, run. But the boy didn't move, because now, the dragon was looking at him. Everything else faded. The screams, the fire, the destruction, all of it became distant. There was only the child, and the dragon. Vorthak lowered its head, slowly, deliberately, its massive form casting a shadow over the boy. It had seen countless beings before. Warriors in armor, kings on thrones, creatures that roared and fought and begged. They all looked the same in the end. Small, fragile, afraid. But this one was different. The child didn't kneel. Didn't cry. Didn't run. Instead, he bent down, picked up his wooden toy, and held it up. For a brief moment, the dragon stared at it. At the crude shape, the tiny wings, the imperfect carving. A dragon. Ion looked up, squinting against the heat. "You're bigger than mine," he said. Silence. Something shifted. Deep within Vorthak. Something I had not felt in ages. Confusion. The dragon's jaw slowly opened. Heat gathered. Light built within its throat. A growing inferno, swirling and compressing into a single, devastating breath. The air around them began to distort. The ground beneath Ion's feet started to smoke. This was the end. The same end that had come for countless worlds. And yet, the child didn't move. He just stood there, looking up, waiting. The fire reached its peak. And then, it hesitated, for the first time in its endless existence. Vorthak did not breathe fire. The fire should have come. It always did. For thousands of years, across uncountable worlds, Vorthak's flame had never failed. It was not just a weapon. It was instinct, identity, purpose. A force older than memory itself. When it opened its jaws, everything burned. But now, nothing happened. The inferno that had gathered inside its throat flickered, then collapsed into silence. The light vanished. The heat faded. The air stilled. Vorthak froze. This had never happened before. The ground beneath the dragon's claws trembled, not from impact this time, but from something far more unnatural. Uncertainty. Across the settlement, terrified eyes watched from cracked doors and shattered windows. Why didn't it attack? Is it waiting? Is this some kind of trick? No one dared move, because the truth was far worse than destruction. No one understood what they were seeing. Ion lowered the wooden toy slightly, studying the massive creature in front of him. Its enormous jaws were still open, still ready, still deadly, but empty. The boy tilted his head. A small crease formed on his forehead as he thought. "Did you forget?" he asked. The words echoed into the silence. Vorthak felt them, not as sound, as something deeper. Forget? The concept struck something buried deep within its ancient mind. Something locked away. Something it had not touched in centuries. The dragon inhaled again. Slowly, deliberately. Heat surged through its body. Power awakened. The ancient fire returned, roaring back to life inside its chest. This time, it would not fail. It could not fail. The ground around Ion began to blacken again. The air warped with rising heat. Even the distant onlookers recoiled as the temperature climbed. Inside the house, Ion's mother screamed, "Please run." But the boy didn't move. He simply watched. Curious. Calm. Vorthak's throat glowed brighter. 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 And then, it stopped. Again. The fire vanished like a dying ember. The dragon's massive body went still. Impossible. A low rumble escaped its chest, not a roar of rage, but something closer to confusion, frustration, even fear. Vorthak had faced entire fleets without hesitation, had crushed armies beneath its claws, had burned civilizations until even their names were forgotten. But this made no sense. It lowered its head slightly, bringing its massive eye level with the child. Closer now, studying him. The boy didn't flinch, didn't step back. Instead, Ion took a step forward. A collective gasp rippled through the hidden survivors. No, stop him. But no one moved. No one could. The dragon's eye narrowed. Watching. Calculating. Still no fear. Still no panic. Just a child. "Are you broken?" Ion asked softly. The word struck harder this time. Broken. Vorthak recoiled slightly, its massive head lifting just a fraction. Not in anger. In reaction. No being had ever spoken to it like this. Not in defiance. Not in mockery. Not even in desperation. This wasn't challenge. This wasn't resistance. It was concern. The dragon inhaled sharply again. This time deeper. More forceful. Power surged violently through its body. Scales glowed faintly. Cracks of heat shimmered across its form like veins of molten light. The ground split beneath it. Wind howled outward. The very sky seemed to tremble in response. This would work. It had to. The fire gathered once more. Brighter than before. Hotter. Denser. A swirling inferno of destruction. compressed into a single breath. Vorthak opened its jaws wide and released. Nothing. No flame. No heat. No destruction. Just silence. For a moment, even time seemed to stop. Then something inside the dragon shifted. Not power. Not instinct. Memory. A flicker. A fragment. A smaller shape. A different sky. A world long gone. And something standing in front of it. Small. Fragile. Fearless. Vorthak's body tensed. Its claws dug into the earth. The image slipped away before it could fully form. But the feeling remained. Familiar. The dragon blinked. Once. Slowly. Its massive head tilted, mirroring the child without realizing it. And for the first time in countless ages, Vorthak did not see prey. It saw something it could not understand. Aion smiled faintly. Not in triumph. Not in victory. But in simple realization. You really did forget, he said quietly. The wind died. The fire was gone. And the deadliest dragon in existence stood powerless before a child. The world around Vorthak began to blur. Not the sky. Not the land. Its mind. The present fractured like glass, splintering under pressure from something far older than war. Older than destruction. Older even than the name Ash Tyrant. A memory. At first, it came as a flicker. A sensation more than an image. Warmth. Not the searing, violent heat of its flames, but something softer. Gentler. The dragon's massive body stiffened. Its breath slowed. Its glowing eyes dimmed ever so slightly as its focus drifted inward. The battlefield vanished. The child before it faded. The burning sky disappeared. And in their place, another world emerged. A quieter one. The air was cool. The sky was blue, not torn apart by fire, but calm and endless. There were no screams. No destruction. No ash. Just stillness. And there, curled against a jagged stone formation, was a smaller dragon. Weaker. Injured. Its scales were dull, cracked in places. One wing hung awkwardly at its side, unable to move properly. Its breathing was shallow, uneven. Alone. It should have died there. Left behind by its kind. Too weak to survive. And yet, it didn't. Because it wasn't alone for long. A sound broke the silence. Soft. Uneven. Footsteps. The young dragon lifted its head, eyes narrowing with instinctive caution. Predator. Survivor. Even in weakness, it knew danger. From behind a cluster of rocks, a figure appeared. Small. Not scaled. Not armored. Not powerful. A human child. The dragon tensed, a weak growl rumbling in its throat. A warning. A threat. The child froze. For a moment neither moved. Two creatures from entirely different worlds, staring at one another. Then, the child took a step forward. The dragon snapped. Its jaws opened, a faint spark of fire flickering weakly within. Not enough to kill. Barely enough to warn. The child flinched, but didn't run. Instead, they crouched down slowly, lowering themselves to the ground, making themselves smaller, less threatening. The dragon hesitated. This wasn't right. Prey ran. Prey screamed. Prey didn't stay. The child reached into a small satchel and pulled something out. Food. They placed it gently on the ground, then pushed it forward. Slowly. Carefully. The dragon watched. Suspicious. Confused. Hungry. Minutes passed. Neither moved. Then finally, the dragon shifted. It crawled forward, dragging its injured wing behind it. Closer. Closer. Its eyes never left the child. It reached the food. Paused. Then, it ate. The child smiled. Not in victory. Not in pride. Just happiness. Days passed. The memory moved faster now, pieces falling into place. The child returned again. And again. And again. Each time bringing food. Each time sitting closer. Each time speaking softly. Words the dragon didn't understand, but tones it began to recognize. Gentle. Kind. Safe. The dragon grew stronger. Its wounds began to heal. Its wings slowly regained movement. But something else changed too. The growls became quieter. The tension faded. The fire softened. And one day, the child reached out. A small hand. Shaking slightly. Hesitant. The dragon watched it. Every instinct screamed to strike. To bite. to burn. But it didn't. Instead, it lowered its head, and the child's hand touched its snout. Warm. Not like fire. Something else. Something it had never known. Trust. Vorth. The child said softly. A name. Not a title of fear. Not a legend of destruction. Just a name. The memory surged. Laughter echoed through the air. The child running. The dragon following. Awkward at first. Clumsy. But learning. Not a weapon. Not a monster. Something else. A companion. The world shifted again. The sky darkened. The warmth faded. The laughter stopped. The memory fractured. And Vorthak snapped back to reality. The burning sky returned. The cracked earth. The terrified humans. And the child standing before it. Aion. The dragon staggered slightly, its massive form shifting as if struggling to remain steady. Its eyes locked onto the boy, not as prey, but as something hauntingly familiar. Aion stared back, his expression calm, curious, as if he had been waiting. "You remember something, don't you?" he asked quietly. The dragon's chest rose and fell. Slow, heavy, for the first time in centuries. Vorthak felt something it could not control. Not hunger, not rage. Something deeper. A crack in the endless armor of destruction it had built around itself. The fire inside it flickered. Unstable. Not gone, but no longer certain. And for the first time, since it had become the Ash Tyrant, Vorthak hesitated, because now it understood something terrifying. It had not forgotten how to breathe fire. It had forgotten why it ever needed to. The wind died. Not slowly. Not gradually. It simply stopped. The burning sky above the settlement hung frozen, clouds still glowing red, but no longer moving, no longer spreading. The heat that had once pressed down, like a crushing weight, began to fade, leaving behind an eerie, unnatural calm. At the center of it all stood a child, and a dragon. Vorthak's massive chest rose and fell in slow, heavy breaths. Each inhale carried the remnants of a power that had once reshaped worlds. Each exhale felt weaker, uncertain. Its glowing eyes remained fixed on Aion, not with hunger, not with rage, with recognition. The memory still echoed inside it. The laughter, the warmth, the name, Vorth. The sound lingered like a ghost. The dragon's claws shifted against the cracked earth, digging deep grooves as its body tensed, not to strike, but as if resisting something within itself. A war, not of strength, but of identity. For thousands of years, it had been destruction. It had burned because that was what it was, what it had become. But now, that certainty was breaking. Aion took another step forward. Behind him, his mother collapsed to her knees. "No, please." Her voice cracked, too broken to carry further. The boy didn't hear her. Or perhaps, he chose not to. He stood only a few feet from the dragon now, close enough to feel the fading heat radiating from its body, close enough to see the subtle tremor in its massive form, close enough to see that it was struggling. "You're not scary," Aion said softly. The words were simple, innocent, but they struck deeper than any blade ever could. Vorthak's head lowered slightly, not in attack, in hesitation. It could end this. One movement, one bite, one claw, and everything would return to what it had always been. Simple, but it didn't move, because something inside it refused. Aion looked at the dragon for a long moment. Then slowly, he raised his hand, a small hand, fragile, unprotected. The entire world seemed to hold its breath, from the shattered windows, from the broken doorways, from behind trembling hands and tear-filled eyes. Humanity watched. No one spoke. No one dared, because this moment did not belong to them. The dragon's pupils narrowed. Its breath caught. That gesture. It knew it. It had seen it before. Felt it before. Long ago. The memory surged again, stronger this time. The same motion. The same hesitation. The same impossible trust. A small hand reaching out. And the choice that followed. Vorthak trembled. Every instinct screamed at it. Burn. Destroy. End this weakness. But something else spoke louder. Something older. Something it had buried beneath centuries of fire and ash. The dragon lowered its head. Slowly. Carefully. Its massive form bent toward the ground. Each movement controlled. Deliberate. as if afraid of itself. Closer, closer, until its snout hovered inches from the child's outstretched hand. Heat shimmered faintly in the air between them, but it no longer burned. Ion didn't hesitate. His fingers brushed against the dragon's scales. And then, he touched it. The moment the contact was made, everything stopped. The sky, the wind, the fear, even the fire inside Vorthak. Gone. Not extinguished. Not destroyed. Silenced. The dragon's eyes widened slightly. Not in anger. Not in pain. In realization. The warmth returned. Not the heat of destruction, but something softer. Familiar. Its body shuddered. A deep, powerful tremor that ran from head to tail. And then, slowly, Vorthak lowered itself. The ground cracked beneath its weight as its massive body descended. Not collapsing. Not falling. Kneeling. A being that had shattered planets. Bowed before a human child. Gasps echoed across the settlement. Someone dropped to the ground. Others followed without understanding why. Not in worship. Not in fear. But because something about the moment demanded it. Ion smiled. Not in triumph. Not in victory. Just gently. You're not broken, he said. The dragon closed its eyes. For the first time in centuries, there was no fire behind them. No rage. No destruction. Only stillness. Only peace. And for the first time, since it had become the Ash Tyrant, Vorthak did not feel like a monster. It felt like something else. Something it had once been. Something it thought it had lost forever. And as the child's hand rested against its snout, the deadliest dragon in existence made a choice. It would never burn again. The sky did not return to normal all at once. It didn't snap back. Didn't suddenly clear as if nothing had happened. Instead, the red slowly began to fade. Like embers dying after a long, violent fire, the clouds, once twisted and burning, softened into drifting shadows. The suffocating heat lifted, replaced by a strange, quiet coolness that settled over the land. For the first time since Vorthak had arrived, the world could breathe again. And yet, no one moved. Across the shattered settlement, people remained frozen where they stood, watching, waiting, because at the center of everything, the dragon still knelt. Vorthak, the Ash Tyrant, destroyer of worlds, ender of civilizations, head bowed, eyes closed, silent, and beside it, a child. Ion stood with his small hand resting gently against the dragon's snout, as if this were the most natural thing in the world, as if he had always been meant to stand there. The ground beneath them was still scorched black. The air still carried the faint scent of ash, but the destruction had stopped, completely. Ion looked up at the massive creature. "You're tired," he said softly. Vorthak did not respond with words. It didn't need to. Something passed between them. Not language. Not sound. Understanding. The dragon slowly opened its eyes. The fire was gone. Not hidden. Not restrained. Gone. In its place was something no one had ever seen before. Stillness. Ion tilted his head slightly. "Are you going to leave now?" For a long moment, the dragon didn't move. Then, slowly, its massive body shifted. The ground trembled as Vorthak lifted its head. Not in dominance, not in power, but with a quiet, careful motion, as though afraid of breaking something fragile. It looked out across the settlement, at the broken homes, at the terrified people, at the world that had almost ended. And it stopped. No rage came. No hunger. Only silence. For the first time in its existence as the Ash Tyrant, Vorthak saw the aftermath before the destruction happened, and chose differently. Its wings unfolded. The movement sent a rush of wind across the land, but it no longer burned. It no longer carried death. Only air. Only motion. People flinched instinctively. Some screamed. Some fell to the ground. But the dragon did not attack. It turned back to the child. Ion smiled faintly. "Good," he said, as if he understood, as if he always had. The dragon lowered its head one last time, not as a bow, not as surrender, but as something far older, far rarer, respect. Then, with a single powerful motion, Vorthak leapt into the sky. The earth shook beneath the force of its ascent. Dust and ash spiraled outward as its massive wings carried it upward, higher and higher, until it became a shadow against the fading red sky. And then, it was gone. No fire. No destruction. No final strike. Just absence. Silence spread slowly across the land. Minutes passed. Then more. No one spoke. No one moved. Until finally, Ayan's mother ran forward. She dropped to her knees, pulling him into her arms, holding him tightly as if afraid he might disappear too. "You're okay, you're okay." Her voice broke. The boy hugged her back. "I told you," he said quietly. He wasn't scary. Around them, others began to emerge. Slowly, cautiously, they looked to the sky, to the horizon, to the place where the dragon had stood, trying to understand, trying to make sense of something that defied everything they knew. But there were no answers. Only one undeniable truth. The world had been spared, not by weapons, not by strength, but by something far simpler, far more fragile, far more powerful. Kindness. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The story spread, across nations, across the planet. Some called it a miracle. Others called it impossible. Some refused to believe it had happened at all. But those who had seen it knew. They would tell their children. On the day the world almost ended, a child stopped a dragon. And far beyond Earth, in the endless dark between stars, Vorthak flew, not as a conqueror, not as a destroyer, but as something else. Something it had once been, something it had forgotten, and now remembered. The fire inside it was gone, not stolen, not extinguished, given up. For the first time in its existence, the ash tyrant chose not to burn, and across the galaxy, though no one yet understood why, worlds that should have fallen, didn't, because somewhere in the vast darkness, a dragon still remembered a small hand, and chose mercy.